Pistons with another chance to win it. Derrick Rose to the basket. He scores!
Wow, he wasn't afraid on a night when Derrick Rose has not shot the ball well. He's just 4 of 16. He was not afraid to take the big shot right there, and it wasn't an easy one.
Holiday. Oh, the one. Dead on, but short. And the Pistons prevail, 96-94.
Hello, and welcome to Views from the Sidelines. I'm your host, Joey Tyzik, with my partner, Malik Hill. Unfortunately, without Chris Pappas for the first time in over 2 years, and it's not because he's sick or anything. He's moved to Ohio. He's settling in, but we hope to have him back on the show at some point soon, and we'll make it happen. Don't worry about that. But anyway, we have a lot to talk about today. We even just got some news just now as we open the podcast.
The most important news by far.
Perhaps, yeah.
More important than...
For certain people, especially us younger people
yes.
that enjoy video games and such. But the NCAA has just announced that they are willing to compensate college athletes for their name and likeness in different things, different media sources. So a lot of us younger kids, as I said, are excited because that could be the return of NCAA football, the video game, which so many people enjoy, but they had to take away.
Yeah,
Malik, what are your thoughts?
It means a lot more, and there are a lot more details to this. But all we care about is a video game. And honestly, at this point, that's really all I can, because there aren't a whole bunch of details out on it right now.
Right.
It's just breaking news. I'm getting a PlayStation 5, man. College football is the only game I still play on my Xbox 360. I still run Dynasties all the time. This is what I've been waiting for. This is about to get me back into gaming, at least sports gaming.
Right. What's like your initial thought though on just being able to use college athletes, for them to be compensated finally for their likeness and their name and things like that? Do you like that move? Do you think that's a good one?
Well, it's a long time coming, honestly. I mean, all of us have been on the same page except for Tim Tebow, who just when it came out of nowhere and
right.
The players shouldn't get paid. It's a part of the tradition. Tim, go play baseball. Even though he's still a football analyst.
Right.
Everybody except Tim Tebow pretty much has been on the same page. The universities, especially the big ones, the Texas, Michigan, Ohio States, the big football factories make millions and millions and millions off of these kids. They feed their families off of this money. Back in the 90s, they used to do stuff like make Fab Five Nikes off of the Fab Five, but
right.
You could walk into a store and get shoes with their name on it, and they couldn't get any money. It's not as dramatic as that today, but still, it was going to come sooner or later. The California thing was just the start, with California schools voting that college athletes will be able to profit from certain things. But yeah, this is a great step.
Right. I'm definitely curious of how they're going to divvy up the money and whatnot, and how much they're going to pay them for, if it's going to differ depending on what things. Like we said, not a ton of details at the moment. We'll have to kind of scour around. There's articles being put out at the moment. So we'll try to get more information by next week. But it's very exciting, and I think it's kind of a turn for college athletes in general. Going into college football, we didn't talk about it last week because we were trying to do our NBA preview show and things like that. But a lot has happened in the past couple of weeks.
A lot of chaos.
And this past week, Michigan blows out Notre Dame 45-14 in what was
big surprise,
a tsunami type weather.
It was tsunami weather all over the place.
Yeah,
the Michigan and Michigan State games were sloppy.
Right. Kind of made it fun to watch. I think the field conditions, a lot of people were talking about how they thought that the field conditions would be more favorable to Notre Dame, but I had always thought that because of the Michigan running backs, with as many as they have that are just such good talent, that there was almost more of Michigan having an advantage. So I didn't really agree with some people that were saying that. And we saw that. Michigan ran for 303 yards on the ground. Hassan Haskins was great. Zach Charbonnet was great. Yeah, they just pounded the ball. They barely had to throw the ball the whole game, and they looked good. Like, their offense looked good. They looked clean, and their defense looked good again. What do you think about Michigan after this game, Malik?
Yeah, the offense is starting to click finally. We've seen glimpses of it in the Illinois game before they almost blew that game because they still were running into problems. They started to show glimpses there, and finally, even though the passing game still hasn't hit its final form, it's not as explosive as it might be one day or in one of the coming games. They just ran the ball. They punished Notre Dame over and over and over again in the first half. There was no condition to just air it out, and it really confused me at first. I couldn't believe how much Michigan's O-line was just overpowering and overwhelming Notre Dame's D-line, because Notre Dame's defensive and offensive lines have been playing consistently good to really good all season. They gave Georgia problems and almost beat Georgia. Only lost 23-7 in Athens. So this game, it's telling of where the Notre Dame program is and how Brian Kelly always seems to have these types of games where Notre Dame gets hype. They go 7-0, 6-0, and then they drop a game. They either lose in disappointing fashion or get blown out somehow. Or they'll get to the playoff and get blown out because they're not on that level. But yeah, it's not all about Notre Dame. Michigan just came out and whooped them from start to finish. It was a huge surprise. This is the O-line people expected to see from the beginning of the season. All of them just showed out. I'm sure you've seen the highlight of the offensive lineman Steven Spinellis in the fourth quarter, where he just ran the dude all the way out of bounds to like the 5-yard line. Yeah, I mean, they played nasty. It was a great thing to see. Besides that phantom pass interference call that was just out of nowhere on Khaleke Hudson that gave them their first touchdown.
Yeah,
it honestly could have been like 45-7,
right.
Maybe even nothing, because that touchdown gave them a little bit of momentum to score again. But yeah, it was domination. Everybody showed up. It was a good thing to see. They needed that type of win.
Right. And that's really like what you said. Like, it's hard to always judge Notre Dame because of the way that their schedule works.
Exactly. They're not in a conference.
And so they get all this hype. And, even me, I was a little bit nervous going into this game. Okay, Notre Dame's playing well. Can Michigan do it? And this just proves to you that, like, the Big Ten, although Michigan has shown its struggles, like, they're still a very good team. And I think they just proved it in this game. And it definitely gives them momentum still to end the season. I don't think it really changes Michigan's outlook, because my thing always with Michigan is beat Ohio State. And this doesn't really change that. It doesn't make me think that they're going to beat Ohio State.
The fact that Ohio State has a almost legendary team in their history right now,
right,
somewhat lessens the blow, but it's still potentially another Ohio State loss in the big house.
Right. And it still gives you at least a little bit of hope going into Ohio State. Like, once we get to the Ohio State game, it's like, maybe there's a little bit of a chance. Maybe Michigan pulls something off and saves their season. But overall, this was a very good win. They get to play Maryland next week, which Maryland's no slouch, honestly. They're 3-5.
They're not as good as people thought. So
right.
I honestly expect them to – I expect it to be somewhat like the Rutgers game. I think they'll win it at like 42-7, maybe. Maybe the offense probably won't. If they scored over 50, I'd be surprised. I'd be happy, but
yeah,
I'm sure they'll score in the 40s again, and they'll shut down Maryland.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Indiana game is the one I'm afraid of. Indiana's 6-2 right now.
Yeah.
They're quietly one of the most pretty good teams in the country.
Right. On the other end of the spectrum,
Notre Dame see you in 2033. It's going to be
a long time. When I heard that at the end of the game, I was like, wow, that's a long time to.
Yeah. And it's also weird. This is a side thing. They keep throwing away home at home schedules with certain teams like UCLA.
Right.
They just ended that one. A few years ago, they canceled a South Carolina one to keep the Notre Dame rivalry going. The Notre Dame game seems to be a lot more important than I thought it was. But
right.
I mean, it's a rivalry, legendary rivalry, whatever.
Right.
But yeah. They got a long time to stew over that loss.
I was gonna say we can take a break for a little bit. But Going on to the other side of the spectrum, Michigan State, they lost to Penn State, 28-7.
The weather affected them a lot.
Yeah.
It seriously affected them, although it made things worse.
Yeah, turnovers were a big thing in this game. Michigan State turned the ball over 4 times. Lewerke threw an interception, which, in the weather conditions, he threw 1 interception.
Lewerke isn't the
So
problem.
Yeah, it's
that's
not that
that's
bad.
one of the big things of this season. Lewerke is doing everything he can.
Yeah, and I think they fumbled it 3 times. I think Lewerke fumbled it twice, lost it once. That their offense, though, every week I think that maybe there's a chance that they can figure out their offense.
A lot of people thought this was the game they were going to surprise Penn State because they've done it so many years where they just get a home game where people are starting to count them out, and then Mark D'Antonio just completely outcoaches the higher ranked team.
And again, in this game, their defense looked solid, but I think just the way that their offense works, their defense can't hold people because they're on the field so often.
Exactly.
And I don't know. We keep saying it every week, but I don't know where this team is going to go because this season is over, obviously. And looking towards next year, we keep bringing it up, but if D'Antonio sticks around and he's sticking to the same method,
that's what he's going to do.
I just don't know where this program is going, which is so sad to say after so many years of being great and being top of the Big Ten, winning Big Ten titles. And now they're just kind of going back to, Michigan State of nothing.
Yeah, that's the reason why you go on social media during the Michigan State game from the start to the finish. I mean, you even saw it when watching the game. The whole student section was completely gone almost by halftime.
Right.
It's nothing but tweets over and over again of, we love D'Antoni, we love what he's done for this school, but it's time to go. It's over. He won't change. He won't switch around the staff. All he's done is just mismatched positions and said, okay, you weren't doing it here, you go here. Maybe you'll be better here. You aren't good here, you go over here. This might work.
Right.
And then what tops it off is how stubborn and angry he is about the whole thing of, okay, I get that you're Michigan State fans, but shut up. I do what I do, and it's worked before. And it's not cutting it right now.
Yeah.
When you lose games like this and when you look like this, you can't stick to that same old Bill Belichick type look on your face and we played bad, we'll figure it out. Come on.
Yeah.
People have reason to talk bad about what they see out there.
Yeah, and I'm glad that the fans and other people and in the media and things are holding D'Antonio accountable, because I'm hoping that at some point maybe there's a breakthrough, or maybe Michigan State has to let him go, which obviously would be very hard to do.
I don't know if they're going to let him go. They need to, but I feel like they're so afraid of losing what they've built. Yeah, what they've had and what they've built, even though it's falling apart right in front of them.
Right.
But there are so many young coaches that could step in to that Michigan State program,
right,
and possibly flourish.
Yeah, because I think the Michigan State job is a lot more. How do I want to say? Like, people would want that job. I think
it's a lot more valuable than people may think.
Yeah,
because when certain coaches come into it,
Yeah, and I would almost compare it to similar to the Michigan basketball job. Like, Beeline built that up. Different way of going out if D'Antonio ends up getting fired or let go. But I think that somebody could come in and do just a serviceable job and hopefully put the program in the right direction. Because for right now, I don't see it. And it's really disheartening, because I thought that this year that they had a chance to kind of be that upset team in the Big Ten, and they're not doing it. It's not going to happen. Next week they got a bye, and then
they need it.
And then they have to play Illinois, who 2 weeks ago beat Wisconsin,
right now.
which we didn't get to talk about. Illinois upset Wisconsin, and then
two top 10 losses in the past few weeks.
Yeah, and now Wisconsin has lost to Ohio State. So Wisconsin's basically out of it in the Big Ten. And yeah, so they got to play Illinois, and then they got Michigan at some point. Is Michigan right after Illinois?
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah. They've got Illinois on their quest for 6, trying to get to a bowl game.
I don't know, man.
And then a Michigan team that's hitting their stride in the big
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they better hope for another monsoon.
It's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go around the Big Ten a little bit more because there's quite a lot of Big Ten teams that are kind of, on a roll. Obviously, Ohio State, like I just mentioned, they blew out Wisconsin 38-7 this past weekend. Another crazy game for J.K. Dobbins.
He's a better running back than Jonathan
Taylor.
Taylor. I'm saying it right now. I'm saying it right now. Besides that hot start, when Jonathan Taylor has played better teams, he has not looked as great as people think he is. I think J.K. Dobbins on this level and going into the pros will be better.
I might have to get back to you on that. I just felt like Jonathan Taylor just had a bad week. I don't know.
I think it's more than a bad week.
But
as they've played better teams, he's looked kind of pedestrian. Yeah, he'll have 2 or 3 touchdowns, but that's because they just keep going to him. He'll have well under 100 yards total, but because he's still a really good back, he's rushed for over 5,000 yards faster than any back ever, which is a great accomplishment. But I think he might just fall in line with the rest of the history of Wisconsin running backs of, man, you were good in college.
Yeah.
But there are some other dudes that are, serious.
And the other big thing that I want to talk about with Ohio State is their defense, because their defense has become elite. And Chase Young
I think you could just say Chase Young and that'll sum up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think back with Ohio State and you think of the Bosa brothers and you realize how good they are and how good they are doing in the NFL, and then Ohio State just replaces them with a guy like Chase Young, that is incredible. To have edge rushers just on your team at all times that can just make so many different plays in so many different ways, play all over the field, do whatever the defense needs them to do. Chase Young, people are starting to talk about it, and I'm starting to agree with them. He should be in the Heisman conversation.
He's the best player on that team.
And you don't see a defensive player win Heisman almost at all. It hardly ever happens.
I think Ndamukong Suh was the closest one. I think he came second.
Yeah. And
or third. I can't remember which.
And
but
before that, wasn't Charles Woodson just only one?
I think he's the only one.
So if Chase Young is to pull it off, which, I mean, if Ohio State keeps winning and Chase Young keeps pulling off
if
plays,
he gets close to 20 sacks,
yeah,
and they keep steamrolling teams, how do you keep him out of it?
Right. Because as good as Justin Fields has been, as good as J.K. Dobbins has been, I feel like Ohio State's offense is good, and they have a bunch of weapons. But on that defense, Chase Young is the leader on that defense.
He's the reason why the offense is in so many great positions.
Right.
And they're never really in bad field position. They were a few times in this past game because Wisconsin is a tough team.
Right.
And they don't give up easily. But, yeah, they're rarely in bad field position, and they're never – extremely tired going into running onto the field because the defense does what they do.
Yeah. So Ohio State, I don't know. I didn't look up what their next game is, but I think for the most part.
Up next, they have they got Maryland after a bye week.
Oh, so they have their bye week too? Okay.
They got Maryland and then Rutgers and then Penn State before Michigan.
Oh, okay. So their last two games.
Those last 2 games.
Yeah.
They got Penn State at home, which it'll still be interesting, but that might expose Penn State.
and by that time, we're going to talk about is Minnesota's going to play Penn State this week, and so we'll find out a little bit more. But looking at it, Ohio State pretty much going to run away with the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Almost positive. Yeah. So we'll see. They're actually an exciting team to watch, as much as I hate to admit it. But we'll see what happens with that. Like I just alluded to, Minnesota undefeated, playing Penn State this week, also undefeated. And it's an interesting game because Minnesota being in the Big Ten West, being behind Wisconsin, basically, at least in people noticing them, they're undefeated, and we are about to find out how good they are because Penn State has been rolling teams. They've been playing well. Do you think Minnesota can do it? Do they have a chance? I love the uniforms, by the way.
I do not think Minnesota has a chance, even though it's in Minnesota, and I think game day should have gone to Minnesota. They chose Memphis this week, which was very weird. They play undefeated SMU, but come on, undefeated Big Ten. Minnesota versus Penn State, never been to Minnesota. That would have been huge. But, yeah, Minnesota, they had a sketchy start to the season. They were barely beaten, like, group of 5 teams, but they've hit a roll. And now they're blowing out teams in their division. And they're 8-0, they're undefeated. You can't take that away from them, even though they're probably going to lose this game. I think something crazy would have to happen for them to win this game because Penn State is just hitting on all cylinders right now. Their offense is is really consistent. Their defense just has a bunch of monsters on the defensive line and with their linebackers. Minnesota winning would be a huge surprise to me, but it's in Minnesota. We've seen top 10 teams drop the past 2 weeks. Anything can happen. Nobody thought Kansas State was going to beat Oklahoma.
Right.
Kansas State was up 48-23 on Oklahoma in the third quarter.
We'll talk about that.
Crazy things are happening. So go Golden Gophers.
Yeah, I would love to see Minnesota win this game.
I want them to make the Big Ten championship.
Yeah,
that'd be exciting.
That'd be a big surprise because Minnesota, as far as I can remember, their football team is usually irrelevant. Basketball, they're usually decent. They've had some teams over the past.
They have good football teams like every 6 or 7 years.
Yeah,
that are like, oh, Minnesota's good this year. But yeah, this is a good one. Shouts out to PJ Fleck, former Western Michigan coach. He's really climbing up the ranks. He might be up for a big job in a few years.
Could be. Yeah,
I think he might be in Minnesota for like 2 or 3 more years. But yeah, he might go for something big soon.
Yeah, and I think it'd be nice too, just for the Big Ten in general, to have like the Big Ten West be a little more important. Like we always talk about the Big Ten East. Wisconsin's the Big Ten West, basically. So it'd be nice, I think, to get a little more competition for me personally. So that'll be an interesting one. I'll keep an eye on that. Also, like you just mentioned, Oklahoma got upset by Kansas State, which almost nobody saw coming, especially because they almost got blown out.
Exactly.
If it wasn't for that late run.
It was crazy.
Yeah. And even just the end of that game was crazy with the onside kick and hitting off the elbow of their player. And
just how Oklahoma came back. Jalen Hurts and CeeDee Lamb, them two single-handedly scored like 3 straight touchdowns.
That run by CeeDee Lamb to avoid tacklers.
I don't he has some of the best like wide receiver run after the catch runs. He has like 3 of them this year that are like in the top of this decade. The one he had against Texas where he bounced against a dude and like cut back against 3 people.
Yeah.
Then CeeDee Lamb is ridiculous.
If people didn't see it, look up CeeDee Lamb's run against Kansas State on his reception late in the game. The guy just dodges every
like
tackler.
A 60-yard touchdown, but it was really like 110 yards.
Yeah.
Because he spun and ran
over.
around. Yeah, it was something to see.
And the weird thing is, too, a lot of people were complaining that the reason that Oklahoma lost was because of the trick play that they tried to run.
Yeah.
Which I don't really agree with, because when the receiver tried to catch it, it just bounced right off his hands. And then it turned into an interception. Like, the guy should have caught the ball. I don't think
he should have caught it. Although I think the call was kind of cute. Yeah. Oklahoma does get extra with play calling sometimes, especially when they're up in games.
Right.
A lot this season, but yeah, the receiver just dropped the ball. Even though the call it is what it is.
Right.
Lincoln Riley is one of the probably the best play caller in the country. He's gonna play calls like that randomly in the second quarter. It just happens.
Right.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing is that I feel like this game pretty much knocks Oklahoma out of the college football playoff just because they're in the Big 12. A lot of people say that there's still a chance, but I think
there's still a chance because I think some top teams could fall down.
Yeah, I mean
they're
definitely
going
to need some help, but I think it just makes it really hard at this point. So we'll see in the coming weeks.
And the Texas loss doesn't look as strong now because they just lost to TCU. So
yeah,
the Big 12 is all over the place. Baylor is still undefeated.
Yeah, that's another surprise.
Gotta love college football.
Yeah,
I love it.
Especially right now, like the last couple of weeks have been kind of crazy, and then now too with LSU staying undefeated,
LSU, Alabama,
and Joe Burrow has basically taken like the world by storm and has put Tua like under the radar somehow. I think it's incredible the way that people are talking about it, and that now Joe Burrow's the Heisman favorite. It's going to be really interesting. LSU Alabama will be so exciting.
I still think Ohio State is the best team in the country, but I'm not mad that LSU got that one ranking because rankings don't really matter until we get close to college football playoff. But if we got to rank them, LSU's right there behind Ohio State to me.
Yeah.
They're firing on all cylinders. You can't stop
And
them.
people are almost forgetting about Clemson. Like, we still haven't even seen Clemson play, to be honest.
This week against Boston College, it looked like they're finally starting to hit the switch.
Right.
Because it was over from the beginning.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence wasn't going for touchdowns every time he got past the 50.
Right.
He didn't throw a pick. He was efficient, and they just dominated. Their defense is killing teams. They got Travis Etienne, who still doesn't get enough credit as he deserves for some reason.
Yeah.
He just dominates the ACC and puts up crazy yards against everybody.
Yeah, I think when I was watching the highlights of that game, and they're like, yeah, Trevor Lawrence had a big game, 3 touchdowns, so many yards, and then they show Etney, and I'm like, hit over 100 yards, 3 touchdowns himself. What are we
Every single week,
about?
he has like 140 yards, 2 or 3 touchdowns, and they're like, yeah, Travis had a great game too. But look at what Trevor did.
Right.
Yeah. Is what it is.
So anyway, college football, it's ramping up, getting closer to the playoffs. But we'll keep you updated as they go along. Going into college basketball, actually, we're getting
just a little bit,
getting closer to the start of the season. We'll probably try to do a bit of a preview show next week for college basketball. But Michigan and Michigan State played some scrimmages, and I'm going to let Malik take it away on this one.
Yeah, the past week, Michigan played against UAD. They've got Brad Calipari in their backcourt now, so things are getting exciting in Detroit. But really, they have Antoine Davis, one of the best scorers in the country. If you don't know him, you should watch his highlights. He's a walking bucket. His dad is the coach. He's the point guard. He's going to average like at least 25 points a game. But Michigan beat them in a scrimmage by like 7. Dave DeJulius had like 21. He had like 7 threes. That's a good thing. Xavier Simpson, John Teskey, they did what they're supposed to do. I think this Michigan team is going to be better than people think. We'll get to that in the preview. And then also Michigan State had a secret scrimmage against Gonzaga. I wish that could have been televised somehow, or highlights kind of came out from it. But news came out that Michigan State wasn't at their best in that game. They came out kind of slow, ended up losing to them. But they're just scrimmages. A lot of times, a lot of big teams lose to like lower teams in exhibitions early in the season, and then they play a lot better in the season. So, but yeah, and then Midnight Madness is a lot of big news coming out of Michigan State. Joshua Langford might be out for the season.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest blow. A lot of people still think that they can be the number 1 team. They're the preseason number 1 team in the country. But I think Josh Langford is a lot bigger hit than some people are taking credit for.
He was going to be their most consistent shooter, probably.
Right. Because, granted, Michigan State has done a lot better with recruiting in the past couple of years. So they have a lot of good guys, a lot of young talent that's going to be playing this year. But I just think the way that Langford played at the beginning of last season was needed. And I just think somebody like him is so good for that kind of team, especially now that Cassius is going to have a target on his back going into this season. So I think it's a bit bigger of a hit than people are kind of making it out to be. But it kind of just hurts my heart a little bit because he was one of my favorite players for Michigan State.
He was going to be big for them this season. Yeah. But also, in bigger news, Tom Izzo came out in the biggest Hulk costume I've ever seen.
Oh, my gosh.
Avengers theme. They had Quinn. I can't even remember the dude's name that performed there. They had a whole thing going. But the real big news, Rocket Watts has been announced as the starting 2 guard for Michigan State in their opening exhibition tomorrow night, and probably in their game against Kentucky next week. Prime time, 9:30. This is something Michigan State fans are excited about. A lot of them are buying into the Rocket Watts stock.
Yeah.
Tom Izzo has said he's done everything right in the past few months. He's been everything and more. At the Midnight Madness, he was one of the most impressive players out there. So you lose Josh Langford, but you have a guy that is a more He's more of an offensive weapon.
Yeah, he's more of a dynamic scorer.
And he has the jump shot to go along with it.
Right.
And he has great defensive ability too. He could grow it to be a really good defender.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is going to be a really interesting Michigan State season.
Yeah, and it'll be good to get him playing time now, as next year they won't have Cassius Winston, and I'm sure they will rely a lot more on Rocket to do some stuff. So getting him playing time now, I think, will really help his development as a college basketball player. So that'll be interesting to see. I'm excited for college basketball, especially because not only Michigan State being number 1 preseason, but also Michigan getting a lot of these top recruits that people weren't really expecting.
Yeah. They got Isaiah Todd a few weeks ago, Juwan Howard's first big swing.
Yeah.
They're probably going to have a few more.
Yep. There's
in
a
the
couple
coming
other
months,
couple others that are in talks right now that they're hoping to land. So that'll be interesting. So hopefully, again, we can have another year of Michigan and Michigan State having solid basketball teams. On to some professional talk. NFL trade deadline is today, and
the Jets are jetsing.
We're an hour away from the deadline being over. Not a whole lot has happened at the moment. There's a couple of small trades here and there.
The rumors are more interesting than the trades so far.
Yeah, right now, Denver Broncos are listening to talks for their top cornerback, Chris Harris. That's one of the main guys out there. The Jets have taken offers on Le'Veon Bell. Apparently, more people are calling than the Jets are trying to sell, per se. Apparently, that's been flipped a little bit, that the Jets aren't as willing to trade him as people initially thought. So a lot of teams called in thinking that the Jets are going to have a fire sale and just let him walk. So that'll be interesting to see if Le'Veon Bell gets moved.
What trade are they going to take that compensates for losing Le'Veon Bell? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
You can't take 10 draft picks and say, yeah, we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold is going to stop seeing ghosts now.
Right. I'm curious, because obviously Le'Veon Bell is a little bit getting older now, and running backs don't age well. He's struggled this season. Yes, he's on the Jets. But he would obviously get a first-round pick, but I don't know what else would be involved in that trade. It'd be kind of tricky. He just signed a 4-year, $52 million deal, something like that. So I would love for the Lions to get him, but at the same time, a lot of people have brought up that Le'Veon Bell is a very patient runner, and the Lions' offensive line is not that good. So for a guy like Le'Veon Bell that waits for holes, if the Lions don't make a hole, he's not going to do anything. So I don't know about that, but we'll see. The Lions are also supposedly big buyers in this trade deadline. They need some offensive line help. They now need a running back because of Kerryon Johnson's issue. And as we just saw last week, they can't run the ball. Back to good old Lions.
They had some running backs in that I didn't know at all.
Trey Carson? Yeah, me neither.
That completely threw. I was like, where's Ty Johnson? What's happening?
Yeah.
I saw him make a few nice runs, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm a little bit confused. So trade deadline will be interesting. We'll talk more about that because I'm sure any deals that are going to get done are going to be later in the day. Also, Melvin Gordon, one to watch out for. Supposedly the Lions are talking about Melvin Gordon as well.
That I don't.
Yeah, I don't know about it either.
I don't want that. Yeah. What happened to who's the running back we signed in the offseason? Anderson.
Oh,
is he hurt?
We waived him. Yeah, as the season started. That's another thing that we might supposedly he's still out as a free agent. So there's talks that we could go out and sign him back to the team, something like that. What
was the point?
Lions stuff. We'll stick on the Lions anyway. Trade deadline. We'll see what happens. The Lions beat the Giants, the New York Football Giants. Big win, beating Danny Dimes, Saquon Barkley.
Daniel Jones was hot.
I'm just glad they didn't blow this game. They let Saquon Barkley run all over him. I don't know. Matthew Stafford has looked really good, honestly, and just the passing game.
Besides that interception.
Yeah. But that's gonna happen.
Happens. Yeah.
Yeah. The passing game has looked great. As we said, the running game has looked awful. They can't get anything going. It's a mix, I think, of the backs and the offensive line. They just can't figure it out. Their defense is playing all right. And, actually, we're going to take a step back because I totally forgot about this because it was early in the week. Quandre Diggs traded to Seattle for a fifth-round pick.
Listen.
That was upsetting.
All that
good
good play they were getting out of the defensive backs all these weeks.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, yeah, just go on with what you were saying.
You get a defensive back like Quandre Diggs that you drafted that likes playing for Detroit.
And has been playing well his whole career.
And decide to trade him for a fifth-round pick to Seattle. I'm not sure what the move was there. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I get it. Like, you get picks, but like, the Lions have not had too many successful draft picks, and Quandre Diggs was one of them. So now you're basically throwing it back into the basket and saying, okay, let's see if we can make another Quandre Diggs.
They must think Justin Coleman can play every single position on the field, on defense, and he's just gonna get every fumble recovery. He's gonna get every pick.
Right.
Him and Darius Slay, they're just gonna rule the.
That's the other thing. Darius Slay was very unhappy with that trade.
I would too,
and he's been very vocal about it. Teams have called the Lions about Darius Slay now because they believe that the Lions could trade Darius Slay.
I'm happy I'm not a huge Lions fan anymore.
I don't believe that the Lions would be dumb enough to trade Darius Slay.
You think? You sure?
Yes.
Are you seriously think?
I'm hoping as well that Darius Slay was just a little bit over emotional because he talked about he wants to play football wherever he is, and he kind of bashed like Detroit as the organization. He later apologized about it.
I also would too. Yeah. And probably wouldn't take it back.
It kind of made sense. But it's a bit concerning.
Just a little bit.
Darius Slay is the biggest name on the team besides Matthew Stafford. And for the Lions to trade him away after he's just made some Pro Bowls would be a big mistake, especially with as good as we've talked about the secondary being. Finally, that I don't know. It just scares me. Anyway, that's off topic.
Hey man, let's get to recapping the picks this week. I don't want to get into more Lions turmoil year after year.
So then the first one, before I go back to it, but I'll talk. The first one that even comes out to mind is the Chargers beating the Bears 17-16.
Oh, just the kicker problems. The Bears cannot catch a break.
Mm-hmm.
They're burning Trubisky jerseys in the streets.
Oh man,
they're probably calling for all kickers to be banned from the league. It sucks.
The number of like articles that I've seen talking about the Bears taking Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes
and
Deshaun Watson is insane. And
they traded up for him.
And all the other players in that draft, to be honest. That was a big draft.
And how about this week they finally gave David Montgomery some carries and he produced. And he showed the talent they thought he had.
Yeah, they decided they're like, we haven't run the ball. We're going to try to run the ball more and use David Montgomery. And look, he did good.
They still won't throw it to Anthony Miller, which is killing me. But the Bears are a serious question mark.
But they said they're sticking with Trubisky. They're not going to go to Chase Daniels.
Well, Chase Daniels isn't that much better. I mean, if he's in, you still got to rely on the defense to win you games.
Right. So
you're either getting good games or terrible games from Trubisky. There's no middle at this point, which is terrifying.
So thankfully for the NFC North.
And it's exciting for people that kind of root for the Lions.
For the NFC North, it's good to know that Chicago can't figure out their offense.
But the team you thought would be frauds are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
The Vikings.
The Thursday night football game, Minnesota Vikings taking on the Washington Redskins. Yes, the team that I have doubted a lot, I have to admit, looks very good.
Hey, man, I said in the preseason, they still have the talent they've had from a few years ago when they made that magical run. It's just you get some new coaches, you get a few new players. It takes a little time to figure things out. And all the Kirk Cousins bashing, whenever he has a bad stretch
that's one thing that I never got. I don't think that like Kirk Cousins is like this elite quarterback.
He's
in the
always
NFL,
been an all right quarterback.
He's a good quarterback.
Yes. He how many incompletions did he have this week? 3?
Yeah, I think he was 23 of 26.
He didn't have any touchdowns, but 23 of 26, 260 yards. You should have blown out Washington. I mean, that kind of sucks, but You win. Kirk Cousins has had 4 straight weeks now of balling out. His receivers seem to be fine again.
Yeah. Stephon Diggs
All is
has
well.
revitalized himself.
Exactly. He's smiling in every interview now, every press conference.
Yep. Moving on, Seattle Seahawks beat the Atlanta Falcons 27-20, which was actually a surprise because Atlanta was without Matt Ryan.
Matt
Schaub.
Still terrible, but
he's been an NFL starter in the past.
Did
he take the Texans to the playoffs though? I think
so.
I think they were
he
pretty
took them
good
to their first playoff appearance.
Yeah.
Matt Schaub was a Pro Bowl quarterback,
right?
And then it all fell apart.
But the Falcons have been kind of a mess. So for them to even be in this game, I thought was a bit of a surprise.
To me, they're the biggest mess of this entire season. It is insane.
Yeah.
I don't know where they'll go from here after this season.
Yeah, their defense is awful. Their offensive line struggles. And they have to have their quarterbacks throw 400 yards every game.
To get close to winning.
We saw Matt Schaub. He was at like 460 or something, I think.
This is another week of what happened to Devontae Freeman.
Yeah.
What happened?
He's still used like a lot, but he can't. And that's part of their offensive line issues is that he can't get anything free, but they're using him a lot in the passing game. And they have the talent. They have Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Austin Hooper.
They just gave up Mohamed Sanu and gave Tom Brady another weapon.
Yeah, well,
but
that's besides the point.
Yeah.
They need to figure something out, so I don't blame them for
all that talent on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. Another big surprise I think was Eagles whomping on the Bills, 31-13. Yeah, I thought this was kind of an easy game for the Bills because Philadelphia has struggled a lot. And they came out and played. Miles Sanders looked pretty good. Jordan Howard looked pretty good. And it's weird, like that's what the Eagles have done this season is that they've looked really bad in games. And then there's a game where like you're like, oh, they have decent
Eagles,
running backs. And they have Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders. They can figure this out. And then the next game they'll go away and they won't use them. And you're like, what the heck happened to the Eagles? So
Josh Allen didn't even have that bad of a game.
No. And
the Eagles just beat him.
Right. And you expect the Bills to have a good defense and that they're going to...
The defense is still good.
They're going to stop the Eagles. But I don't know. It's just one of those games, I guess, that kind of out of nowhere. We talked about the Chargers beating the Bears, Lions beating the Giants, Tennessee beating the Buccaneers, Ryan Tannehill looking solid still.
Yeah. He's going to start the rest of the season, I'm pretty sure. I think with him starting, even though Mariota has looked good in some games, I think with Tannehill starting, that's the best chance they have of making the playoffs.
He's just a better passer than Mariota at this point in his career.
More consistent. When he was with the Dolphins, he had good seasons.
Right.
The teams just weren't ever put together good enough.
Yeah. And when you have a guy that can throw the ball, Tennessee has good receivers. They're young, but they have a good receiving core. And with a back like Derrick Henry, you need to be able to open the passing game for him to get lanes and stuff to be able to just pound the ball like he does. Because he's not going to be that big play guy necessarily.
Bruce Arians came out and said the picks weren't Jameis Winston's fault this week. Just had to make that clear.
Yeah.
He's supporting Jameis.
Yep.
I don't think he should give Jameis too much freedom.
Yeah.
It'll backfire on him.
Another 4 turnover game for Jameis Winston, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles.
He said that the picks weren't his fault.
Yeah.
But those fumbles, yeah.
Jameis Winston is like the biggest anomaly, I think, at quarterback for me because we've seen it already is that he'll have a game where he throws like 350 yards. He'll have 4 or 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Look like the number 1 pick he was.
And then the next game, it'll be like this. He'll have 4 turnovers. Or like 2 weeks ago, he'll have 5 turnovers. Not fun for my fantasy team. Colts beating the Broncos 15-13. Again, the Colts are in a game, or the Broncos are in a game. Like every week they're competitive, but they're still just 2-6.
They still have that talent they had a few years ago.
They're there, but they just can't get wins.
Joe Flacco, your quarterback.
Come on, he had a great day. 20 for 32, 174.
Oh, that good old Joe Flacco game, 174 passing yards. But can we talk about how old Adam Vinatieri can miss 3 kicks in the first half? But if you tell him you need him, you need him to make one
game for us
from any amount of yards with 3 seconds left.
Yeah, let alone a 51.
It's going to go right down the middle. Mm-hmm. When he's 50, he can still make game.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer.
I think the Broncos, I can't remember if they were talking about their quarterback situation, if they were talking about if they're going to bring in somebody. I think Is it Brandon Allen that plays for the Broncos?
They need to just start playing Drew Lock.
I want to say that they are going.
Who cares, man?
I think they said that their starter is going to be Brandon Allen this week because Drew Lock is still on the injured reserve.
Oh, okay.
So that's what they're trying to do is they're trying to wait till Drew Lock is healthy.
There's no reason to watch that.
Yeah.
Not at all.
So Brandon Allen, don't even know where he played in college.
Arkansas.
I believe
he's pretty good.
I believe he's the starter this week, if I remember. Surprise, surprise, the Rams beat up on the Bengals 24-10.
The Bengals actually had a chance at some point.
Yeah.
Which the Rams are starting to scare me. They're winning games, but there are times where it looks like they just can't do anything.
Yep.
And it's confusing.
Yeah.
But they won.
Brandon
Cooper Kupp
Cooks
had a big day.
Brandon Cooks went out in this game. He had a concussion. I think that's the second time that's happened this year. I can't remember, but yeah, Cooper Kupp had a big game. And the Bengals have just announced, I think today or yesterday, that Andy Dalton will no longer be their starter. They are benching him for Ryan Finley. So
it's more of a spare Andy Dalton than a bench Andy Dalton.
Yeah, because like we were talking about before the show, I don't think Andy Dalton is a bad quarterback in the league. I think he's been put in a bad situation at this point. We've seen what Andy Dalton can do when he has talent around him.
Like Kirk Cousins, he can get you so far.
Right.
But at that playoff level, he just doesn't,
And they're another team. They have no running game. They have no offensive line. They still don't have A.J. Green. They expect him to be back after their bye week unless they trade him, which we also talked about before the podcast is maybe.
Come on, trade him and Dalton. Come on, Cincinnati.
Maybe they
get
decide
this
to
rebuild
trade both
started.
of them. I would love to see Andy Dalton and A.J. Green be put in better situations, to be honest. I think they deserve better than that. Drew Brees came back and led the Saints to a 31-9 win over the Cardinals, which Drew Brees, I thought, he might struggle with a little bit having a thumb injury, but he was fine. He was good. Latavius Murray got another start for this team and put up even better numbers than he did.
He's a quality
prior.
back.
Yeah, I mean he's been a starter in the past when he played for Minnesota
and for Oakland. That's when he had the 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, and these past 2 weeks he's played better than Kamara did the weeks before he got injured, I think. So that'll be interesting. Kamara, I believe, is supposed to be back though this week.
I thought he'd play this week, but
yeah, there was talks that he would.
That team is they're in such a sweet spot right now.
Yeah,
that they're no matter star running back out, star quarterback out, we're still going to play good.
Yeah,
we're a good team,
and they get to go. They have their bye week this week, and they get to go into that knowing that Drew Brees has already played. Now he gets to kind of rest, get ready for, the end of the season, moving into the playoffs. And this team is just scary.
Yeah.
I think they're one of the best teams in the NFC.
The NFC South is a lot different than we thought it would be.
Yeah.
Because, it's very different.
Another non-surprise, the Jaguars blow out the Jets 29-15.
I started watching the highlights for that game, and I just stopped.
The Jets...
I lost interest so fast.
The Jets are they're pitiful. They won their one game. People get excited. Oh, Sam Darnold's back. Here we go.
I feel bad for the Jets, honestly.
And now I
really do.
They played the Patriots where they got obliterated. They were seeing ghosts out on the field.
Whenever New England comes to New York, it's just a problem.
Yeah.
It was the butt fumble game. Now Darnold seeing ghosts. It's just it's too many phrases and plot lines from those games.
And Jacksonville came out, picked off Darnold 3 times, sacked him 8 times. It was a rough day.
Is he 20 now? Is he just 20 years old? Wasn't he 19 last year?
Let me see if I can see it. 20. No, he's 22.
Oh, he's 22. Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's still young,
okay.
But
I remember him being the youngest starter in NFL history last season.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe he was. Yeah, I can't even remember now.
So now he's thrown 7 interceptions in 2 games.
It's not even his fault.
No,
honestly.
Not entirely.
It's kind of his fault, but
if he's seeing ghosts,
his confidence level is at an all-time low.
Yeah.
I honestly think they might as well just start playing David Fales in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
Because you do not want to just.
They need like a reset.
Yes.
A complete reset.
Go into the offseason, just retool, get your quarterback back on track, and and don't trade Le'Veon Bell, Jets.
I don't know.
Adam Gase might do something crazy. He has that look in his eyes where he might do anything. Who knows, man?
Another big game. 49ers and the Panthers, after the Panthers have been rattling off wins defensively with Kyle Allen at the helm of quarterback. 49ers blew them out 51-13. 49ers are the real deal.
For real.
Yeah. And they do it with running the ball and defense. Jimmy Garoppolo kind of just sits back. He game manages, but
people expected him to be the guy that's the reason why they're winning.
And it's not. It's their running game. It's their defense. They're just a complete team, honestly. And now they added Emmanuel Sanders, who I think is what they needed. He's not what he once was, but he's still a very, very good receiver. And it gives them a number one guy that Garoppolo can actually throw to. And then Tevin Coleman has been great as a starter.
Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida. How about that combo being as dangerous as
And they're without the best fullback in the league. And that's
it's
scary.
Kyle Juszczyk, right?
Yeah. Kyle Juszczyk. And
they still have George Kittle.
Right.
A bunch of young receivers. I mean,
yep.
I said this before the podcast, and I think most people thought this. Everybody thought the 49ers were still a year or two away.
Yeah.
All their young guys still had to get acclimated. Kyle Shanahan, innovative young coach. It's all clicking right now.
Yep.
I mean,
Nick Bosa stepped right in.
When you watch those highlights from that game, just the innovative play calling he had. There was a play where Emmanuel Sanders came through on a sweep, and at the same time, Jimmy Garoppolo snapped it, faked it to Emmanuel Sanders, and Deebo Samuel came through for a halfback dive on another angle. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They're just clowning teams right now.
Yeah.
Defensively and through just punishing people through the run game. And that Kyle Allen, that novelty, it's starting to run out.
I mean, I never really believed it because his numbers weren't good. They were just winning games, and it was mostly because of the defense.
He wasn't turning the ball over. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't just – at some point, coaches know Christian McCaffrey is the plan.
Right.
And that's the reason why over the past weeks, he still had his highlight runs, but you can't just keep shoving him up the middle and making him do little routes underneath. And teams know what's coming now. So
yep.
Yeah. Season might be – the NFC South might be wrapped up.
Yep.
Very early.
We go from one of the best defenses to the best defense in the league. Patriots beating the Browns 27-13. As I told you before the podcast, San Francisco and the Patriots are either number one or number two in every major statistical category on defense. They are the two best defenses in the league by far. And the Patriots proved it again against the Browns. I don't think anybody really believed in the Browns anymore, really. But the Patriots their defense is so good. Tom Brady doesn't have to do anything.
They have the most well-constructed defensive backfield in maybe the past 20 years.
Yeah.
It all balances out so perfectly well. Stephon Gilmore. They have both of the what are the
McCourties?
Yeah, they have both of the McCourties, don't they?
I'm
pretty
so.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, every piece,
Devin McCourty is leading the league in interceptions, I believe.
Every piece they have on that defense just fits so well.
Yep.
And then on offense, you have all these young running backs. You just signed Mohamed Sanu. You got Philip Dorsett playing the best ball of his career. Consistent Julian Edelman. I mean, they barely even use tight ends anymore.
And you have the greatest football player of all time, Tom Brady, as your quarterback. That's not a bad line.
He's 42 and still balling.
Yeah. It's not bad. And you're right. They normally they would have double tight end sets all the time because of Gronkowski and all that. And they don't really use that a whole lot anymore. And they're still fine. Team's crazy.
Listen,
I hate the Patriots.
When it comes to the Browns, the curse of the Browns QB is vicious. It might come for you one day if you ever consider using your college eligibility and making the NFL one day. If you get drafted by the Browns, just call it quits.
Yep.
Sell insurance, do something. I don't know.
Take my money and run.
Yeah, take all that money you made through endorsements and stuff. Just retire, start a family. It's not worth it.
Yep.
We see more Baker Mayfield commercials than completions these days.
That is a good line.
It's not good. It's not good.
No.
Freddie Kitchens is just on the sidelines looking around. Every other play, it was him looking around like, "Are you guys kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you?" Freddie's just confused.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what to do with his offense. He can't figure out how to get Odell Beckham touches.
Yeah. I think
It's a mess.
he's obviously on the hot seat. I think a lot of people are talking about if Freddie Kitchens is going to be fired. Starting to look like he's going to.
Imagine if they just would have hired Greg Williams,
Yeah,
who was the biggest reason of why they were playing so well last season.
right.
But, hey, man. Tricky Brown's history.
I'm just glad that the Browns aren't doing that good because they were just so hyped in the offseason that I couldn't see it. I didn't expect them.
I bought into it, and let's move on.
And I'm not going to say that I thought they were going to be this bad, but I just didn't see it. Moving on. Texans beat the Raiders 27-24. This is a lot closer than I thought.
John Gruden has those Raiders playing really, really hard every week.
Yeah, they're a solid team.
Yeah.
Like, especially they're still young too. Like their receiving core is very young. Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Tyrell Williams.
The plan that he set up, bringing in all of his guys, all these new guys. I mean, they're all believing in what he's coaching and what he's telling them. They're playing hard every snap. They're playing smart football. They're not getting many penalties. Derek Carr's playing clean football. It's actually pretty good to watch when you watch the Raiders play, seeing all these young guys making plays.
Yeah, and the Texans they're starting to be a little bit concerning, I think. They're kind of finding out that Deshaun Watson can't carry them every game. Like it's just too hard on him. And they're having a lot of these close games that I don't necessarily think they should. There's a lot of talk that they might also be looking for a running back at the trade deadline, so that'll be interesting. Although Carlos Hyde has been pretty good, I think. And then their defense has not been as what people expected, I guess.
Yeah, especially with that J.J. Watt news.
Yeah, I was trying to ignore that.
So sad. So, hey, you got on the topic. I had to bring it up.
Yeah.
J.J., you're a Hall of Famer. Who cares, man? You can retire now. You're going to the Hall.
Yep. J.J. Watt,
wish you luck.
Out for the season.
He's going to live a great life. I don't even have to wish him luck. He's going to be fine.
Yeah, and he's a great guy in general.
Exactly. He has brothers in the NFL. His family's doing great.
Sunday night, another unfortunate one. Green Bay beating Kansas City.
I mean,
31-24.
You got Matt Moore out there, even though he played well.
Yeah. I mean, Kansas City was in the game for most of the time.
Aaron Rodgers is on a roll, man. There's not much you can do about it.
His biggest receiver was Aaron Jones. 7 receptions, 159 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I hate to say it, but I think the Packers are just going to run away with this division at this time. I know the Vikings are there, but it's very sad as a Lions fan that we already have to look at a wild card. And the other wild card teams would be like the Seahawks and things like that, which I don't know.
Whenever Green Bay comes to Detroit, for some reason, I always have a feeling they can pull that game out.
Yeah,
I think like every single year when I see Green Bay coming into Detroit, I'm like, they can win that one.
Yeah,
no matter how good Green Bay is, because they've upset Green Bay here before.
No, I agree. I just think that Green Bay is going to keep rolling teams, and the Lions are going to have to look to they're going to have to compete with Minnesota, Seattle for these wild card spots. It's just going to make it tough, and I'm a little nervous.
Have they played? They haven't played Chicago yet, have they?
No.
Detroit? They're going to drop one to Chicago.
No.
And that's going to be a real sad game.
Don't say that.
I'm sorry.
They play Chicago, I think, after this week.
They are going to lose to Chicago, probably at home, and then they're probably going to beat Green Bay at home. And it's Lions football. What do you expect, man?
They'll lose their first 3 division games and win their next 2.
Yes.
That would be a Lions thing to do. Monday night, game of the year, Dolphins and Steelers.
Fireworks all over the place.
I thought we were going to get a Fitzmagic Monday night. They led for most of the game.
I'm so happy the Dolphins. I want more 0-16 teams. At least every other year. No. I want a team to just completely fall into the basement. It's exciting to see, especially when games like this come up. I didn't even know Mason Rudolph was playing again.
Yeah.
Until I saw some highlights, and then I was asleep by then because I wasn't going to watch this game.
To be honest, so the Dolphins led in the first quarter 14-0, and Allen Hurns scored a touchdown. I had no idea that the Dolphins had Allen Hurns.
Neither did I.
I was like, wow, the Dolphins have a decent wide receiver on their team.
Yeah, Devontae Parker is good for a highlight catch.
But
like 2 of them a game, but consistently, no.
And then once the second quarter started, the Steelers came alive and, blew them out, made them look like the Dolphins again. Kind of disappointing, but
tank for Tua.
Whatever. It happens.
Let's just hope Tua's good.
So we will move on to our Week 9 picks.
Let's tell the people who came in first place, Joey.
Oh, right. So last week, Malik, again, number 1 in picks. He got 12 correct picks out of the 15. We all had good weeks. I also got 10, and Chris got 10 as well. So this week, Chris was able to send us in his picks, and we'll see how that goes. The standings are as follows. Chris is at 64 at the bottom. Malik has 73, and I am at 75. So
I'm right there.
I can't be as risky anymore.
I'm coming for that podcast trophy.
I got to be a little bit careful as we start to get, we're past the halfway point now, so got to watch out. So Week 9, San Francisco at Arizona.
I'm going San Francisco.
Yeah, I don't know how you go against San Francisco. Chris also picked San
Nick
Francisco.
Bosa is going to be all over Kyler Murray.
Yep.
He might get sacked like 8-9 times.
Yep. Detroit playing Oakland.
At Oakland.
Oh, crap. It is at Oakland. Yes.
Yeah, I know you're going to go Lions. I'm going Raiders.
Chris went the Raiders as well. This game actually scares me a little bit because of what we talked about with the Raiders.
Oh, yeah, they're playing really well right now.
Houston playing Jacksonville.
At Jacksonville?
Yes.
I'll go Jags. Yeah, I'll go Jaguars. The Texans are kind of inconsistent right now. They look really good one game and then kind of slide down the next. I think Jacksonville is going to capitalize on that. The Gardner Minshew train continues.
I'm going to go with the Texans then because Chris also picked the Jaguars. So I'm going to put Texans.
You're just going to put me with all of Chris's picks.
I'll tell you Chris's picks first from now on. Washington at the Bills. Do the Redskins have a chance?
Buffalo, come on.
Chris went with Buffalo.
I'm going Buffalo too.
Me too. That was a clean sweep.
Yeah.
This is an interesting game. It'd be more interesting if Pat Mahomes plays, but the Vikings are at Kansas City.
I'm going Kansas City.
Chris also picked Kansas City.
I think Kirk has somewhat of a stinker in this one, and people start chewing him apart again.
I'm going to hope that Patrick Mahomes comes back for this game, and that ignites the Chiefs, and they beat the Vikings. Because we can't have the Vikings keep winning games.
I don't think it'll be very high scoring, especially if Matt Moore is playing.
Yeah.
I think it might be in the high teens or low 20s. I think the Chiefs sneak one out.
Here's our snooze fest of the week. The New York Jets playing the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, Jesus, this is bad. This is worse than the Steelers Dolphins.
It tells you how bad it is when Chris has picked the Jets.
Is it in Miami?
Or Chris has picked Miami over the Jets. It's in Miami.
Oh, man. Sam, you got to rebound. I'm going with the Jets.
Do you go with Sad Sam and the Jets, or do you go with Miami winning
I'm
the first game?
I'm going with the Jets. I think
Sam
Darnold has a confidence builder.
This will actually be really funny. I'm going to pick the Jets too. So we're both going to pick the Jets, and Chris is going to pick Miami.
This is going to backfire on him. Watch.
That would be great. Bears at the Eagles. This is an interesting one because
I'm going to go Eagles.
The Eagles are coming off a big win, and the Bears are coming off a pretty rough loss.
Yeah. I don't think Trubisky, especially with this being in Philly, I don't think Trubisky really is going to have it in this one.
Yeah.
I think Carson Wentz has that Bears defense is still pretty good, but they just lost to the Chargers.
Yeah. I'm going
Eagles.
I'm going with the Eagles. That was a clean sweep. Indianapolis Colts at the Pittsburgh Steelers. What do you got?
Give me the Colts.
Chris picked the Colts.
I want to pick the Steelers with my heart, but I can't.
Yeah, I think the way that Indy plays, they're too hard to beat, especially if they get ahead.
They're just figuring out ways to win right now.
Yep. I'm going to go with a clean sweep on that one as well. Titans at Carolina.
Give me.
Do the Panthers bounce back?
Panthers. I think McCaffrey has a big game.
Chris picked the Panthers.
Yeah. I think that Carolina defense plays well. Tannehill throws 2 or 3 picks.
Yeah, I'm nervous about the Carolina defense, but I'm going to still go with Tennessee. Man, I'm starting to already make so many different picks than you already. It'll be.
I'm going to win again this week. People
you could
just
definitely
watch.
take the lead after this week, but I'm still going to stick with it.
I got him second guessing.
Going with Tennessee. Tampa Bay visiting Seattle. I don't see Tampa Bay winning this in any way, shape, or form.
Watch Jameis throw for like 404 touchdowns.
I say that, and he will. But
man,
to be fair, like Russell Wilson at home, 17 touchdowns on the season, one interception.
I trust Russell Wilson more than any quarterback in the league.
Yeah,
I'm going.
I'm giving this one a clean sweep.
That how they let Matt Schaub come back scares me because Jameis and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin can put up some numbers.
Yeah,
and they can stick around.
Two sad teams in the NFL.
I just thought about flipping to the Buccaneers. I'm going Seattle though.
Okay. The Cleveland Browns playing in Mile High, the Denver Broncos.
Oh, yeah, this is just the sadness bowl.
Yep.
This is
looking at Baker Mayfield's
This is more than
stats.
just a snooze fest. This is a real depressing game.
Joe Flacco, 1,800 yards, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. You're like, okay, that's pretty rough.
Isn't Baker at like
that's pretty
5 to
rough.
12?
That's pretty rough for 8 games in the season. And then you go over and you look at Baker Mayfield. He's got about 1,700 yards. That's less than Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
6 touchdowns, the same as Joe Flacco, and 12 interceptions.
Oh boy. And this Broncos defense just played really well against the Colts.
Yes. However, they might end up losing Chris Harris here.
Yeah.
But I don't think that really matters.
The Browns looked really good. I'm going
Chris
with the Browns.
picked Cleveland.
Yeah. I think they're going to have a type of game they had against Baltimore.
I'm going with Joe Flacco.
This is really going to kill you one day.
I know.
You might
already
lose
has.
This. You might lose this by the end of the season completely because of Joe Flacco.
I've been picking a lot of Denver games, so I wouldn't be surprised.
You got to stop trusting that man. I'm sorry.
The Packers visiting the LA Chargers. This is a 4:25 game. Never mind. We're not at Sunday night yet. Chargers just beat the Bears, beat another NFC North team, but I don't see them beating the Packers.
The Bears should have beat them. If that field goal should have gone, but Bears bad luck. You said Packers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Give me Packers, especially if it's in Green Bay.
Aaron Rodgers, nobody was talking about it at the beginning of the season. All of a sudden, he has 2,300 yards on the season, 16 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions.
He's about to tear up.
It's terrifying.
They might win like 45-10.
Yep. I'm giving this one a clean sweep. I still think Aaron Jones is a little bit overrated at the moment, but he's getting in the end zone.
People are overrating Aaron Jones?
I think so a little bit.
I've always thought I was surprised once he started playing really well for the Packers. And then once he continued to play well, I was just like, all right, Aaron Jones.
I just think he still struggles a little bit on the ground. Like he has 466 yards and 8 touchdowns.
Oh yeah, he's not like
he's just efficient when he gets to the goal line. I think that's his biggest thing and that's his biggest strength. So I think that's where sometimes people overrate him. This one is interesting. The Sunday night game. I'm where I want to lean, but New England at Baltimore. I really want to pick the Ravens in this game. But it's so hard when you have a guy like Lamar Jackson that sometimes can really struggle to throw the ball against the defensive backs, as we talked about, that the Patriots have. I'm going with Baltimore because I've already picked so many different picks than you this week. Just, we're going to put it one way or the other. You're either going to have the lead or I'm going to get a big lead.
Lamar Jackson versus the best defensive backfield in the league.
Mm-hmm.
You got Chase Winovich getting better every game. Got some good linebackers. Kyle Van Noy is a playmaker ever since he left Detroit.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just hoping that Lamar Jackson's running game is going to shake up the Patriots defense just enough. Just enough.
Man. Lamar Jackson's played really well this season.
Yeah.
He could surprise the Patriots.
Exactly. That's all I'm banking on.
I'm going with the Patriots.
Yeah.
Pats. Super Bowl winners this year. They're going to piss everybody off again.
I would love for them to go 16-0 and then lose in the playoffs again.
If the Super Bowl was like Tom Brady versus Drew Brees or Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers, everybody would be fine with it. I hope that's what it ends up being.
And finally, America's 2 teams on Monday night, the Dallas Cowboys visiting your New York Football Giants.
America's 2 teams.
Yeah.
You sure about that?
Yep.
Oh,
100%.
Okay.
Danny Dimes.
America's quarterback, Eli Manning.
Oh, Danny Dimes. On the big time.
Daniel just tore up the Detroit defense. Cowboys at Giants.
Yes.
Give me the Giants.
I'm with you.
Give me the Giants.
I'm with you. Saquon Barkley, Danny Dimes.
Come on, Daniel and Saquon. Come on.
They're gonna try.
The Cowboys have just fallen.
I'm gonna call this game the game for America's team. Because
Listen,
if the
man,
Giants beat the Cowboys,
the Cowboys lost to the Jets a few weeks ago. Get this New York sweep going against Dallas.
Yeah.
We need this to happen, America.
Yeah, I agree. All right, that's it for the NFL this week. Like I said, we got some trade deadline stuff that hopefully we'll be able to talk about. Hopefully some interesting things go on because a lot of the times the NFL trade deadline is boring. There's no trades. But this year, there's a lot of hype. Hopefully it lives up to it, but we'll see.
Hopefully next week I will be in my rightful first place. Finally.
Let's hope not.
And hopefully Chris gets within 5 of somebody one day.
All right. Well, we're going to close the show with a little bit of NBA talk. Season's still really early on, but there's already been a lot of surprises. Obviously, one of the big ones, not the surprise, but one of the big headlines is the Lakers and the Clippers played for the first game of the season. Clippers kind of brought it to the Lakers. Everybody already starts questioning the Lakers. Lakers have bounced back since, and they've looked pretty solid. But then there's been some surprises, as in like teams like the Hawks who have beaten the Pistons.
Hawks have looked really good so far.
The Thunder just whomped on the Golden State Warriors, which was a big surprise. That's why I contemplated maybe putting the Thunder up higher. I thought that they had some talent that people weren't seeing.
Shai Alexander is going to be the truth.
Yeah.
Very soon.
But
then Golden State just came back and destroyed the Pelicans last night.
Yep.
The Pelicans do not look very good.
Yeah.
Their effort.
Brandon
last night was
Ingram
bad.
looks very good, though. Brandon Ingram has looked very good.
He's talented.
So I think the Pelicans are still going to need to wait till they get Zion back to really see. Drew Holiday's been hurt. He didn't play in their last game as well. So they're kind of banged up at the moment.
Whenever you have to play Kenrich Williams,
yeah,
like 15 or more minutes, something's off.
Yeah, so I think they'll bounce back. I think they'll get it going. The Kings have surprisingly struggled a little bit.
0-4. Yeah.
Oh, and then the big one after the Clippers people were thinking the Clippers might go 82-0 because of their team. They got beat by the Suns. The worst team in the Western Conference last year. And the Suns,
they've improved.
The
man.
Suns finally maybe looking like the team I thought they could be.
With DeAndre Ayton out because of substance.
Things.
Yes, because of problems.
Yeah.
But hey, man, Kelly Oubre is a good player, a good young player. They got Dario Saric, good vet.
Yep.
Ricky Rubio, a consistent good point guard. Frank Kaminsky's look good.
Yeah.
They got some solid pieces there.
Right.
And Aaron Baines to top it all off. The cherry on the sundae.
I don't know, man.
Detroit should have kept Aaron Baines.
Yeah. Let's talk about Detroit a little bit. They're 2-2. Beat the Pacers twice. I can't believe they
huge accomplishment.
When I even saw that schedule that they played the Twicers. They played the Pacers.
The Indiana
twice.
Twicers.
They played the Pacers twice within 4 games. Seemed insane to me.
I'm about to call them the Twicers for a lot of the season now.
I'm ready. Shout outs to Chris for making mistakes with my words. He's famous for it. Shout outs.
We need to just release a compilation of Chris messing up names and phrases.
Yeah.
That'd be a great one.
So anyway, the Pistons looking pretty good. In the first game of the season, they looked really good. Andre Drummond came out with a 32-23 game.
Andre Drummond has been the reason they looked really good since, which scares me.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I agree. Luke Kennard also scored 30 in that game. Derrick Rose has looked fantastic. He scored 31 the other night against the Sixers.
Yeah. Didn't have an efficient night last night, but still came up clutch.
Yeah, but he was the game winner, as we saw in the opening clip that we had today. The Pistons are looking somewhat promising.
They could be a 7th or 8th seed team.
Yeah, I'm still not 100% sold on the team yet. Derrick Rose has looked fantastic. I love when we don't have Reggie Jackson playing. It's always kind of a nice feeling.
Tim Frazier has looked okay.
Yeah. Christian Wood had a big game last night. So that's exciting to see. that wasn't just like a preseason fluke. That I was a little bit nervous about that maybe.
Even
going
Tony
into it.
Snell is playing well.
Don't say that to me. My problem right now is that Luke Kennard has been inconsistent. I think he needs to get a little more consistent.
Yeah. I think as long as he keeps having games like he did that first against Indiana, I think he's going to have several more games where it's like 25 to 35 points.
Yeah.
And he like just explodes, and him and D Rose have really good games.
Yeah. They lost to the Hawks and the Sixers. Hawks, one of the surprise teams. Trae Young has looked incredible.
He's been
so
dominating so far. Pretty much. He's averaged almost 40 and like 8 far this season.
The one big concern that I have in the Sixers game, we talked about it before the podcast. Joel Embiid didn't play in that game, and he's known as the Pistons killer. So for them to lose to a Joel Embiid-less Sixers team is a little bit concerning, but they're going to be one of the best teams in the East. But it just kind of gives you a little bit of an early season measurement of where the Pistons are at and where they need to get to, because the Hawks are going to be a team that they got to fight for. They're not going to just roll over this season. They're young, but they're feisty. Trying to think of some other teams that have
there's a lot of weird starts right now. Minnesota's 3-0.
Yep.
And Andrew Wiggins hit 4 straight threes in the past game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me upset that I know he's going to disappoint again this season.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't average at least 20, why is he there?
Right.
You keep having these glimpses of, hey, he might get there, and then it doesn't lead to anything.
Yep.
Denver, still looking like a juggernaut of a team. They could finish first in the West. Houston with Harden and Westbrook, I don't like how either of them really play.
Yeah.
So when they're on TV, I usually don't watch them, but hey man, they look okay so far.
Yep. Utah is actually doing what people thought. They're 3-1.
Yeah.
San Antonio 3-0, doing San Antonio things.
Memphis is only 1-2, but
they're a tough team.
John Morant and Jaren Jackson and Brandon Clark. Those guys, man.
John Morant, the Grizzlies' only win is against the Nets.
Yeah, and that was a great game.
That's another thing too, is that the Nets have started pretty good. At least Kyrie Irving
started big, and
but he's
the
lost.
team has started
Yeah. Toronto is 3-1.
Hey man, Pascal
I think
Siakam
that's a bit of a surprise for me.
Pascal Siakam might actually be that guy.
Yeah.
And Fred VanVleet is improving a lot.
That crossover that he had, that was disgusting.
Let's just talk about the throwbacks.
I love them.
I
love them.
It was so
I want
great
more
to see
teams
that.
to do that. A lot of people have posted.
A lot of teams are bringing back throwbacks.
Yeah.
Utah had the Rocky Mountain uniforms a few nights ago. Every team needs to do this.
I really want the ones that I saw posted were the Grizzlies. The old Grizzlies with the actual Grizzly on it, like coming out at you, like the Vancouver
also in
style.
preseason, Portland did their 70s throwbacks.
Yeah.
The part I love about it though is, along with the throwback uniforms, teams have been throwing back the courts too, so it looks like you're watching.
Yeah, they do a full.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
Detroit, if you don't bring back those turquoises and do that,
I know.
Piston court, come on.
Bring the horse back.
I hope every team does this.
Revive the horse. So yeah, already NBA season, pretty exciting, pretty interesting.
One very surprising storyline. A lot of people are putting stock in Kendrick Nunn right now.
I was talking to my dad about that.
Man.
I love how he's playing with Miami.
Him and Tyler Hero playing off of each other. They seem to have really good chemistry. Miami could be a pretty good team.
Yeah. Kendrick Nunn doing what I always hoped Kay Felder would do. Granted, Kendrick Nunn is a bigger player, just stature-wise, so he can do more. But it's great to see a Golden Grizzly playing well in the NBA this early on too. Like, he hasn't had a lot of time in an NBA season to do anything, and he's taken summer league, preseason. He's looked good the whole way through, and now in regular season games, he's looked good. I like it. Granted, they don't have Jimmy Butler right now, but it's cool to see for sure. I definitely enjoy that. So we'll see about the NBA. There's a lot still to go.
We're in the sweet spot of the year for sports. It's all starting.
Even the World Series. I've been watching the World Series. It's been exciting. I'm not gonna lie. Nationals
Isn't
came
Washington
out.
up? Yeah.
Nationals came out, won 2 in a row. They were up 2-0. Houston's won the last 3.
Poor Bryce Harper.
So
he
now
leaves, they get better.
an exciting storyline tonight. Well, let's talk about baseball for a second. Steven Strasburg is on the mound for the Nationals to save them from losing, which Steven Strasburg was a big talk when he first came into the league. And now it's been 10 years since he's been in the league. And we're going to see tonight if he can save the Nationals World Series hopes
on the
or not.
biggest stage.
Yeah. So I'm going to be watching that game. I'm actually excited for it. World Series has actually been good. And I don't watch a whole lot of baseball these days. I just don't. Kind of like the rest of the world. But anyway, there's a lot going on in the world of sports. We'll get you guys next week with more college football, more NFL, maybe some more NBA news.
I like the sad baseball note at the end.
Yeah,
I don't really watch baseball anymore
I know.
like the rest of the world. Cue the sad music.
Yeah. So we'll see. There's a lot of stuff going on. We'll try to hit you guys up next week as well. Maybe Chris will join us magically. We'll find out. Stay tuned. But yeah, this has been Views from the Sideline. I'm your host, Joey Tysick. My partner, Malik Hill.
Yes, sir.
Shout outs to Chris. You're always with us. We'll see you guys next time.
Putting in early rookie votes. Taco Fall scored his first points against the Knicks. Let's go.
His average per 36 minutes is incredible.